What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another video. It's your host Ray. Today is a recap of Airliners International 2022, which unfortunately is now over. I just want to say thank you to everyone who went, and thank you to everyone who I got to meet over there. It was really fun meeting everyone in person for the first time since before I only knew most of the people online, as well as talking to various vendors and other collectors just like me. So it was really cool. Overall, it was a fun experience, going all 3 days. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it to any of the spotting venues or events, but I was able to make it to all three of the collectibles shows, and I honestly had a blast. Thank you to everyone who walked around with me, helped me explore. You guys are awesome people, and I hope to see you guys again next year in 2023 in Dallas. So that'll be pretty interesting. Enough of that though. Today's video is just a recap on everything that I brought home, which was, I'll just put it this way. When you put a model collector like me in a collectible show where there's a lot of model airplanes for 3 days straight, there is never a good outcome, financially at least. So I'll let you guys do what you want with that information. Let's go. All right, so here it is. This is everything I brought home from Airliners International 2022. It was pretty interesting, to say the least. I'll talk about each of these models briefly. I won't review them in this video, but I will review some of these, and if you guys would like me to review a specific one, then comment that down below and I'll get that done. So here are the acquisitions from day one. Day one was pretty interesting. It was more of an exploration day for me. I decided to go alone instead of with a group. That way I could explore everything at my own pace. And here's what resulted. The first model I bought was the NG model United Airlines 737-800 in the Star Wars Special livery, and the second one is the NG model United Airlines Boeing 757-200. Now, originally, I was not going to get this model since I usually don't buy United Airlines merger livery models. However, this actually resulted from a trade that I made. I was going to buy an NG model American Airlines 737-800 from Hobby Jets, and when I opened it, I noticed that it was broken, and I still bought it anyway because I knew I could fix it. However, I saw more paint issues and printing defects on the model as I inspected it later, so I decided to go back, ask them if I could trade it for anything, and they let me trade it for this model. And obviously this model is much nicer. I got to keep it, they let me, so huge shout out to Hobby Jets for amazing customer service. And this is the result from day one. I'll talk about each individually. So this model I bought from the Funny Model Store. Huge shout out to them, by the way. Really nice customer service, and I'll explain why later. So I actually got this one from the Funny Model Store. It's a pretty solid model in my opinion. There are a few issues with it that kind of mess with me, but overall I think they're still forgivable. Most notably, the color of the blue here on the wing, the blue and the red on the wingtips. They're both kind of light. They should be a bit more saturated and dark, but this side looks fine. The United title is a little bit light too, but it's not anything extreme. And the other side looks a bit better. The dark red here looks okay, but the red here and here, they're a little too bright, so that's the only issues that I really have with this model. The other problem that I had with it is the landing gear. You can kind of see that they're angled backwards ever so, or not backwards, but they're angled forwards ever so slightly. I think you can see it more on the left side main gear. You can kind of see that it's angled forward. And when it's sitting on the ground, it doesn't affect balance or anything. It just looks odd. So it's not the worst issue in the world. And the nose gear has also been spotted to be a little bit too tall. But honestly, I think they're still within acceptable margins, so it's still a great model. The second and last acquisition was the NG model United Airlines Boeing 757-200 in the post-merger livery. This model is really nice. I really like the way it is. It's nothing too special. It's not a special livery or anything, but it's still a really nice model with very good quality control. And it also has the silver underbelly, which I actually didn't know about until recently, and it caught me quite off guard. But it's a really cool feature in my opinion. I really like it at least. Day two was certainly more eventful since on day two I decided to go with a group of people. There was about 6 of us total, and it was really fun. The group consisted of Red River Aviation, Alpine Aviation, AS Aviation, Irish, me, and I think that was it. Oh, I'm sorry, JJ Skippy was also there with us. And we had a lot of fun, honestly, going around exploring. We did separate for a little bit, then we regrouped. and this is what resulted. So it might seem as though I caused a lot of financial damage to myself with this. However, it actually ended up being relatively cheap, and I'll explain why with each model. So on day one, I also acquired a plane tag which featured the skin of a Delta Airlines 757-200, and the YouTuber Irish, I contacted him because I know he likes Delta Airlines. I told him, hey, I got this tag, I can trade some models for it if you want, and he agreed. I traded the tag for these three models, and the tag was pretty darn expensive, I'll say that. But I think the trade was very fair, and I'll explain why in a second. So the first model is the NG model United Airlines 737-900 in the Continental Airlines Retro Special livery, and it's a nice model. It's really good. My friend Irish originally got this from Greyland Station in Chicago, and I believe it was broken. I think one of the wings were broken off. I'm not 100% sure. And he fixed it, and I honestly can't tell that it was broken originally, so hats off to him on fixing that. Um, and he decided to streamline his collection to have more Delta aircraft and less aircraft from other airlines. So he wanted to trade this with me for another model, but we ended up trading the plane tag, as I mentioned earlier. And it's a really nice model. I originally didn't intend on getting it, but now that I have it, I'm going to keep it. It's a really nice model, and I'm glad I have it. Next up is the Gemini Jets United Airlines 737-700 in the post-merger livery. This is definitely a model I wouldn't get normally, but Irish also wanted to trade this with me for the plane tag, and it was actually pretty cheap, if you will, because the original owner, because Irish bought this off of a seller on eBay, the original owner decided to have these configured into ornaments, and that's the giant black spot you see here. That's actually a hole to put, I guess, an ornament holder or something. I'm not sure, but the original owner cut these holes, and I figured that I might be able to fix them. So let's see how this goes. This one's going to be particularly difficult because I can't cover it with an antenna or anything. It's going to be hard to fill it with, I guess, a piece of plastic. But either way, the model's still it's pretty decent. It's not the best, but it's not the worst by any means. So this should be pretty interesting. The last model that resulted from the trade with Irish is the Gemini Jets United Airlines 737-800, also in the post-merger livery. This one went to the same owner who wanted these models as ornaments, and you can see the little hole in the top. This one's going to be much easier to fix since I just have to put a little bit of filler there and then put an antenna on top of it, because this is actually where the antenna originally sat. And this model isn't exactly the best either, because NG model exists and their 737 mold is far beyond this one, to say the least. It's still decent. The wheels roll. At least it still has some good quality control, so this should also be pretty interesting to fix. The fourth model that I managed to get was the Gemini 200 Southwest Airlines Freedom 1 737-800. This one was quite unexpected. I traded some ground service equipment and gates and some money for this model, and it was a pretty good deal. I'm glad I was able to negotiate with the sellers, and it's a pretty solid model. Definitely unexpected, but I figured, you know what, screw it. It's a nice plane. Might as well get it. And here it is. And I absolutely do not regret it. I'm very glad that I have this model finally. And yeah, I think I'm not sure how many more 1 to 200s I can get because I'm running out of shelf space. The last model that I got on day 2 was the Copa Airlines Connect Mile 737-800. This one was rather unexpected. I've been debating on getting it for a while since I kind of do like the livery. I like how the tail section back here is blue and the underbelly is a nice silver, but I never really, I guess, prioritized it that much. However, I was able to make a trade with the Funny Model Store again, which is why I mentioned that I wanted to give a huge shout out to them and a huge thank you for trading with me. I traded a damaged American Airlines 757 for this model here and a few extra dollars. And I'm very glad I was able to make the trade, and now I have this model in my collection. It's pretty nice, and that's that. On day 3, I spent a lot less time there since by then I had already made all of my acquisitions, and there really wasn't much else to see. Most of the cool models were gone, and everyone was getting ready to wrap up the convention. And also, it was a very gloomy day, so it was rather depressing too. And I also brought my dad along with me, so shout out to him for joining me. This is the only acquisition I made, and it's probably the one that was, I guess, the most hard for me because this model was very expensive. I'll just put it that way. It was pretty financially damaging, but I'm glad I got it. It's the Gemini Jet Southwest Airlines 737-700 in the hard livery, and I made sure I actually saw this model at the table from, or how can I word this? I saw this model every single day that I was at the convention, so day one, day two, and day three as well. And the vendor still had a few of these there, and I inspected this model like twice, once on day two and then the next one on day three. And I was really debating if I wanted to get it or not. And there were multiple, so I inspected all of them and I picked the one with the best quality control. And then right there and there, I said, all right, let me get this before I back out of it and regret it later. And here it is. And it's a decent model. The wheels roll actually, and there was pretty good quality control on this one, so I think I'm going to be keeping this one in my collection for a very long time. Even if NG releases one, I'm probably going to get that too, but this one's definitely a keeper. And of course, I now have both the 1 to 400 and 1 to 200 versions from Gemini Jets. I got this one many years ago when I was still an irresponsible kid. I have no idea how it survived my crazy onslaught of not knowing how to handle models when I was younger, but yeah, it's still in relatively decent condition. It does have, I think, a paint scratch on it somewhere, but I'm glad I have both of them now, and yeah, that was that. Once I was ready to go, I was about to head out the door, and then I said bye to some of the people that I had met there, and that was the end of it. Overall, Airliners was really fun. As I said at the start of the video, it was, I always say this, it was one hell of a fun trip to be there. I'm glad I got to meet various sellers, meet new people, talk to people, and talk to people who are a lot like me in terms of model collecting, and it was a very good experience. And I really hope I can make it to the one in Dallas in 2023. That concludes the video. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to everyone who went to Airliners and made it a really fun time. Like, comment, and subscribe. Stay tuned for more airplane content. Stay tuned for the reviews on these. I'm going to review the Star Wars 737-800, and I think that's the only one out of the set that I want to review. But if you guys want me to review any of the other models you see here, I'll do that as well. Just comment that down below. And stay tuned for more airplane siren and hopefully in the future rocket content, and I'll see you guys later.